So Joe Rogan is giving the president medical advice. Now, when I heard this, I thought to myself, well, what's Joe Rogan's academic credentials? So I looked him up, and he dropped out of Boston College, and after it says shortly after he enrolled. It was kind of ambiguous on that, but in other words, he doesn't have any academic credentials. Um, you know, um, so people are taking the word of a person who doesn't really know anything, has an opinion. So, you know, opinions are not facts, right? Uh, to think is not to know. So, you want facts, you want to know the real things, you should consult a fucking expert. I'm an expert. I have a master's degree in history. I'm an expert and I'm a master of history. I studied military history. I've written, published articles on military history, been on TV. My thesis was an aspect of military history, so I'm an expert. I'm an expert in English grammar and composition. Um, so I'm just saying, if you want to actually know real facts, you got to consult a freaking expert, not a guy that has a podcast. Not anybody can have a podcast. If I had a cat, I could give the cat a podcast. And let's face it, anything that came out of the cat's mouth would be more intelligent than anything that comes out of the president's mouth. Well, I guess Joe Rogan represents the man in the street, but when you want to learn something, you don't go to the man in the street. You go to school. You go to a college. Um, that's how I learned Latin and Greek. I didn't go to the man in the street to learn how to read Latin and Greek, or I didn't go to the man. I wasn't taught grand strategy, grand tactics, and tactics by the man in the street. I didn't learn counterinsurgency tactics from the man in the street. Um, so I have like credentials, yeah, that Joe Rogan doesn't have. Uh, I have no comment to make on psychedelic drugs except for the fact that Trump is going to have experts look at him. They're going to be his experts. They're going to determine whatever facts he wants them to determine, and then somebody's going to make money on the deal. The pharmaceutical industries, Trump will get his palm greased, of course. So the whole thing is, I would say, has basically nothing to do with absolute truth or absolute reality. Um, so remember, Joe Rogan is not an expert. I am an expert, but not with respect to the use of psychedelic drugs, upon which I make no commentary other than the fact that this particular investigation is just going to be made to benefit Trump and the pharmaceutical companies, not to benefit you.